Welcome to the newest dialogue in politics, community news, human interest stories, entertainment, and information from Eastern North Carolina. Janet Conner-Knox is an award-winning journalist with more than 25 years experience in print, radio, and television. This is Talking with Janet.
The state of North Carolina has become one of the most controversial states in the South. Back in 2010, during the midterm elections, citizens elected a supermajority of Republican legislators, and they came in saying they needed to make some changes on how money was being spent. They said Democrats spent more and more money, and the gap with what is owed and the state actually being solid was getting wider and wider. When they made those changes, thousands upon thousands of people came out and they protested at the legislature, some getting arrested. They called it Moral Monday. It was headed by the NAACP, and then there became a coalition of organizations, teachers, unions, all of them that came together to say, you know what, we don't think that what the legislature has done is right. Well, right now, we're in the middle of 2016 election season, and some of everybody is here trying to talk to North Carolinians about what should happen. Democrats are trying to take back some of the seats. Republicans are trying to maintain what they've had. Today, we're going to be talking with two people who are hopeful to get those seats. One is Charlie Pat Farris, and Mr. Farris is hoping to take District 8 House seat. It is now being held by Republican Susan Martin. And to my left is Republican candidate Richard Scott, who is looking for District 4-8, and if he is successful, he will unseat Democrat Senator Angela Bryant. I think one of the things that we are starting to notice here in North Carolina is that the whole country is watching North Carolina. They're looking at all of the controversies that's here. And because there are many, many, many. Legislators said they'd do some things that were sweeping in order to get the budget under control. People who don't like what they did said, well, it was mean-spirited, and they point out the Medicaid and the shortage of funds given to people who work for them who are now unemployed. So I guess one of the first things I want to ask the both of you is, what is your critique of the legislature? What did they do well? What did they not do well? And either of you can begin. Well,
I think they've done a whole lot of things very well. They've lowered our taxes by almost 2%, personal income taxes by almost 2%. They've cut the corporate taxes so that the people can come in, companies will move in. I can testify to that because I was just at an announcement yesterday in Halifax County where a company from India is going to open up there in Halifax County and employ 155 people. I was at a job fair Thursday, and I had a company in there looking for 200 people to employ. So when they say that people are not coming out of business and not coming to North Carolina, they're giving you misinformation. There's a lot of good companies coming in. We're looking at moving some more in.
What do you think about, but one of the criticisms had to do with Medicaid, and that there are 500,000 people who are not able to get Medicaid, and they're sick and could die.
Can you show me the paperwork on that?
Well,
is that just hearsay?
No, it's not hearsay. Those are the numbers that came out, that there were 500 people, about 500,000 people, who are not able to get Medicaid. The number of weeks that you're able to get for unemployment have been cut, and the amount of money you can get is cut, and that is a concern of people who are unemployed, and they're saying that those are some of the things that was on the back of the middle class that probably should not have been. Do you disagree with that?
Partly, but not entirely. Medicaid is a safety net, and I hate to use the word net because, when you say safety net, what do you think of when you say net?
Something that catches.
Right. Mm-hmm. And entraps and keeps them there for a long time. I think we need a safety trampoline, something that they're going to hit, they're going to bounce back up and work. We need more jobs. main thing. That way we don't have to worry about the unemployment. And people talk about the drugs in the area. We need more jobs. That would go down when we have more jobs. When people have less jobs, they get into drugs more often. I used to be a drug specialist in Kansas. But anyway, Medicaid, I was with the Council of Aging, Government Advisory Council on Aging today. Yes, we are working on Medicaid and looking at improving it a lot. I'm joined the task force in Raleigh with the Government Advisory Council on Aging and with the Tar Heel senior legislators that we'll be working on together Thursday to come up with some ideas to help Medicaid and some of the things that are facing our senior citizens especially.
Okay, Charlie, tell us, what do you think the legislators did well and what did they do not well?
I think it's easier to talk about the things they have not done well simply because they have attacked the public schools. The children who go to those schools are not going to be able to get the type of education they need because we have a lot of teachers who are leaving the ranks. They want to go to something else. I've heard people say that it appears that the Republican-controlled legislature is trying to totally get rid of the public schools, even though our Constitution guarantees the right of education to all of our students. You have teachers who were arrested last Friday who were protesting, saying that they don't have the resources they need to be in school, plus they don't get paid. We have a lot of problems, and when we talk about employment in North Carolina, where do you think that comes from? It comes from good teachers, good educators, and to tell them that their salaries are not adequate, that we turn out to be 41st or 42nd in the country when we used to, I think under Governor Hunt, we were around 20th. Everything to me begins with schools. I am what I am because of good teachers. I think the children that we have today don't want to be teachers. I was in a school several months ago and I asked a bunch of children who were third graders what you'd like to be when you grow up. Only one child said, I'd like to be a teacher, and the other 17 or 18 kids sitting around the table said, why do you want to be a teacher? I mean, we have discouraged people from wanting to be educators. We've not made it worth their while. I think that the legislature, the Republican-held legislature that's calling all of the shots, needs to take another look. I've been surprised that the legislators who have been voting to dismantle the public education, because you're discouraging teachers from coming, you've gotten rid of the incentive that college kids have to become teachers. We used to have a program that could eliminate the debt they had if they become teachers. That's not in existence anymore. There are other such incentives, but I think that the legislature itself has to begin and end with education. Every one of those members of the General Assembly who have voted to cut spending through education owe their livelihoods to some teacher somewhere, and for them to be able to just cut the books, the textbooks out of schools, not provide enough computers for the schools that are using them, not provide aids for teachers. That bothers me. And I can't talk about the good that they've done. I can start by saying the harm that they've done. If they can correct that, then I might have some praises for them. But right now, I'd say the state of North Carolina should be ashamed of itself for what it's done to education.
In 2009, the Democratic Party cut the teachers' pay by $5,000 because I'm a teacher. I know what they did. I had to take a day off with no pay, a furlough day. So they cut it by $5,000 in 2009. Go back and pull it and show you the exact day and time, even the time that they voted on it. And I don't know how you can say that the teachers are leaving the state. 14%, yes, are getting out of education in North Carolina. But look at the real figures on that. Some of them in that 14% are retiring. Okay? Some of them are moving out of state with their spouse. Some of them just found out that teaching just was not their thing to do.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you right now because we're going to be right back right after this. Thank you for watching.
I did something terrible. I don't know what I was thinking.
This is dangerous.
I'm begging you, don't hurt me.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Valentina, you're beautiful, 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 beautiful.
The topic of education is extremely hot here in North Carolina. You're saying that people are leaving, and that's reflective of what I hear Republicans say.
This is not what they're saying. This is what is statistically proven.
Okay, and you're saying that teachers don't have any incentive. We're seeing lots of teachers protesting legislation that they're saying. Why are they protesting the legislation?
Well, I don't know how you can say we cut education when they've added $1 billion to education in the last 2 years. How is that a cut? They've added $5,000 to the beginning teachers' pay. They've added more to the retirement system that was basically unfunded when the Republicans came in. And so when they say, well, you cut the teacher's aid, well, what they were doing, they were saying, well, we're going to let the local school board hire the teacher's aide. So what they did, they didn't want to dictate to XYZ school and say, you got to have 3 teacher's aide in the first grade, 1 in the 3rd grade, this and this one. We're giving you the money, you decide what you do with them.
They're giving you the money, but they're not giving you enough money to have the aides that they need. I was recently in one of our schools in the county who said they have 7 teacher aides. They had 5 kindergarten classrooms, and they had 2 other aides that they could move around to different classrooms. They could use far more than that, but that's all the money they were given. To say that the General Assembly doesn't dictate is totally wrong. Of course they dictate, and of course the teachers are protesting the fact that they are not treated fairly, they're not treated as professionals. Those legislators last year, the last full session, sat around for months after the session should have ended by still collecting their per diems. There are a lot of people in the legislature who have nothing else better to do than to sit in Raleigh and just look back and say, I think this needs changing, this needs tweaking. And that's the truth. The state is upset, and there will be a time, I hope it's this election cycle, when many of the folks who have voted to cut education are out and to give us a chance. I don't know anything about...
Because Angela Bryant voted to cut the education in 2009. She voted not to give the teachers pay in 2012. So yes, I agree with you on that.
I don't know anything about Angela's record.
Well, I'm just saying I do.
I thought she was doing a fine job for the area that she represented.
Look at the voting record then.
Well, let's talk about each of you. What is it that you think you offer the public? Why should they go to the booth and then vote for you?
I got a lot of leadership skills. I've got over 50 years of experience. Like I said, I was a teacher. I taught in middle school, high school, and college. I served 2 terms on the school board, so I know both sides of the coin on school issues. I also had...
But what are you prepared to do for folks? What do you
education,
want to do for people?
the number one thing in my thing is education. Education, education, education. The next thing is jobs, jobs, jobs.
How do you do that?
Well, you work with your economic development, your chamber of commerces, your town commissioners, your town council, the county commissioners, and you work through the state to bring the companies in here. If you don't get companies in here, or you don't try to expand the companies and give them a reason to expand, then they won't do it. We're right now sitting at number 4 in this country because of the policies that's going on, and because of the people like to say, well, they cut the corporate tax and that was the high-end people. No, when you cut 9% of the corporate tax and cut it back to 4%, corporate taxes is nothing but a pass-through tax. If you're going to charge the corporations 9%, they're going to turn around and add it to their product, and you're going to pay the 9%. Corporations is a pass-through tax. So why if you got a company here and a company in Virginia, and North Carolina's got to pay 9% more for it, and up in Virginia you're going to pay 4% less for it, which product you going to buy on the shelf? So, this is the things that you got to look at to bring the...
Well, really what it boils down to is that the middle class and the poor end up paying all the way around, it sounds to me.
Well,
so what are you going to do for the regular guy?
We also cut sales taxes, which was hurt me, you, middle income, lower income, because when you got sales taxes on every product, everybody pays for it. I'm on Halifax County Council of Aging, I'm chair of that. But I'm also chairman of the Northeast Nurses Family Partnership. We help first-time moms, and these are moms that are on Medicaid. So this, I see these struggling mothers that we help, and we work with the mothers until the baby's 2 years old. And I see them struggling, and I go get resources for them. I've been getting refrigerators, cribs, everything else for them so that they don't have the baby sleeping on the floor. But it's a home visitation program with nurses. We got full-time nurses. Matter of fact, we just expanded it over into Nash County. So yes, I understand how these people are hurt. And so by lowering the sales taxes on things, by lowering the corporate income taxes that is passed through taxes that's going straight to the people that they got to pay more for it. Cut the gas tax so that the people going to get the medicine. So now, I know personally I made the same thing the last 3 years between my Social Security and my money that I get from the college, exactly the same thing, but I had an $800 less tax bill.
I think people should consider voting for me because I'm a moderate Democrat. I don't believe that everything the Republicans do is wrong. I don't think everything that the Democrats do is right. I just don't. I think you're going to have legislators, senators, representatives to go take a look at this bill, take a look at this bill, take the best of the two, put them together, and both sides can come together. I will challenge every single House member, every single one, to get into those schools and see what's going on. Schools is very dear to me. The school system needs more than just tweaking. You need to get legislators to get into those schools and not be celebrities when they go. I want them to work. I want them to clean tables. I want them to walk sick children down to where they're supposed to go, whether it's the counselor or the nurse. I want them to help teach a child to read, or at least listen to the child read. I want legislators to go there and know what it's like not to have a teacher's aide, not to be able to go to the bathroom when they want to, or to take a break. Schools are tough, and people expect the schools to handle all of our problems. The schools aren't there to teach your children manners. Manners need to be taught at home.
But on the other hand, too, society, when you decide that you're going to be a teacher, you're going to have everybody in your classroom. You're going to have the parent, children who have parents who are on drugs, and you're going to have parents who have people who have two parents who are working. You've got all of those societal problems there at the school. You have all those children there. What can we do then?
You can have good example, trying to go to the teacher and saying, this is the way you try to be courteous, this is the way you dress. When I know teachers who, when kids come in the winter, they don't have a coat, they'll go out and buy the children coats. A lot of places, a lot of schools don't have extra funds to go to the children who come in inappropriately dressed. I know a lot of teachers spend their own money getting the things in the classrooms that have been cut out. When Mr. Scott talks about people can go get medicine, well, if they don't have health insurance, who's going to prescribe the medicine? They can't just keep going to the emergency room. We have a major problem not only in education, you have a major problem when it comes to mental health treatment. I'm big on schools and hospitalizations, mental health. We used to have psychiatrists, and I'm not blaming the Republicans for getting rid of the psychiatrists. I know through both parties being in charge.
I'm sure they're relieved to hear that.
And they should be, because I would attack them if I thought it was all their fault, and it's not. But we've got to return it. We've got to have something called a medical tax credit to allow a doctor to see a patient who has no insurance, but yet still pay that doctor a little something. A medical tax credit, a whether it's going to be a chiropractor, an eye doctor, a foot doctor, an orthopedic, an internist, I don't care what kind of doctor, you've got to be able to provide some type of incentive other than the compassion that a lot of doctors do have to try to treat people for free. I understand that, but they shouldn't have to be treating for free. We need to institute, if we're not going to expand Medicaid, which it appears we're not, give them a medical tax credit. Tell those doctors we won't help them at all. Right now they see people for free. They get nothing for it but a loss of income. And it needs to be talked about. There are other types of tax credits that we can put out there for things that we don't have money for. The schools, going back to them, need help. And if we can't have paid aides, maybe we can have the senior citizens that you're a part of now. I go out to the senior citizens community service, the community centers, and talk to people every week about, can you do something for the schools? Can you help a teacher for free? And some people say, I've already done that. And I say, that's fine, but couldn't you do it maybe for your grandchildren or your nephews and nieces? Some say we will, some say we won't. Everything in this state has to start with education. And if it's not going to be education, it's got to be health care. We're sorely lacking in both. And as an example of the cooperation I would give to both sides, Mr. Scott mentioned what the Republicans had done to unemployment. I handled a lot of unemployment. I am a lawyer. I've practiced 43 years, and I've done lots of Social Security disability without people having to even get to a doctor. It's hard to get their benefits. They don't have the Medicaid. They don't have any health insurance. But when it comes to talking with citizens, when it comes to being able to get benefits through unemployment, I thought the 2 years was a little too long. I thought 3 months was a little too short. I would have probably said 6 or 8 months for unemployment benefits might be more fair.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
What's all this?
Dad, can't you knock?
Why are you doing this to me?
Unemployment in Wilson says it's almost 10%, but we know actually those numbers are much, much higher because there are people who fell off the rolls who are still unemployed. They just didn't get jobs. So the ones that are counted are the ones who are actively enrolled in unemployment. And on the break we mentioned 40% African American males unemployed. Incarceration rate way high for African American males. I dare say that if there were no African Americans in any of the cities, the justice system would come to a screeching halt because there would not be anybody arrested. I mean, because things seem to be focused on those people who are poor and particularly African American males. I need to find out, do either of you support a community system where average citizens get a chance to review the things that's happening between the police force, the sheriff's offices, and the places that you're going to govern, and a community board that would look at them and say, well, was that excessive force or not? We'll begin with you, Charlie.
I don't see the harm in it. I don't want the police and sheriff's departments to think everybody is trying to criticize them. They do a lot of good work, but the truth is you have bad people in any profession. You have things that go on in different professions that shouldn't. So to have a community interested, like we have our Citizens Police Advisory Council where people go through training for maybe 12 weeks. They learn about the inner workings of the police department. I think that's good. The sheriff may have something similar. I think that we ought to have overview of lots of things to let the people be involved. I don't see one thing wrong with that. And if you explain it to the sheriff and the police chief, I think they would go along with it nicely and believe in it.
I believe in it because I am on the Halifax County Sheriff's Community Advisory Board. And yes, we do review things. I'm also the vice chair of the Crime Stoppers. So yes, we do review all the cases on that. So we, yes, I agree with that. And that's one thing we can agree on. We do need a oversight, just like you do on anything else, but it's not a thing where you're going in there to criticize them. You know, if you go out with some of these police, we do have a ride-along program. If you go out there at night with one police officer by themselves and stopping a car full of people, I don't care whether they're black, white, or you know, anything else, you know, he's got a situation there that you know, it can change one way or another real quick, and him by himself or her by herself. So yes, we need more police officers. Skyline is liking a lot. Enfield's got a good force now. That ain't good work over there. So the sheriff's department's way behind over there. The sheriff's department over here could use a few more people. So yes, we don't need to have everything criticized, because these guys are, and women are putting their lives on the line every time they go out there.
But they chose those jobs.
Oh yes.
I mean, they weren't in a part of a draft. It wasn't like, well, we're going to look at the community and draft these people, and now you're going to be, you know, you have to do this. They picked that job, and they could have picked being a banker. Am I correct?
It's the heart. You have to understand the heart that they have. They're one of the people, like firemen, like rescue squad people, that will go into danger to help their community, and they're putting their life on the line to help their community. So it's not like that they you know, just chose that because, you know, it's paid.
But they did choose that.
They did choose.
They did choose that job. I want to talk to you about poverty in rural communities. As I said before, if the rest of the town, if the rest of the country is state is rebounding, those who live in the rural sections of the state are not seeing it, and they're not seeing it fast enough. What do you want to do for people who live in your counties are parts of Wilson, parts of Pitt? Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What would you do specifically?
Well, you know, Wilson already is trying to get a new form of schooling at Bedingfield, which will teach some of the kids. I think they can take 50 or 60 or 70 kids at a time to learn electronics, to go into the automobile field, as well as some other technical fields. That will help unemployment go away when they graduate from school. I mean, I think everything, again, it all starts, Janet, with education. You can't get away from it. Poverty can be partially eliminated by better jobs. People are on unemployment, which means they're going to be on food stamps, which means they're going to lose their health insurance, which means we're going to all pay when they go to the emergency room. Emergency room's not free. Somebody's going to pay for it, and that's us, the people out there working. And so in order to help eliminate unemployment, we will never totally get rid of it, but we can certainly bring those numbers down. That's horrific to have Pitt and Wilson as high as they are, both above the state minimum, and even the state minimum is too high. So if you will again look at where the schools are, and if you'll see that we can teach them skills that are needed in the community, get the employers to come in and talk to the school system and say, we need 30 or 40 more of this type of person, or 20 or 30 more of these, and the schools can sort of direct how we can get some jobs. That will slowly make a dent in the unemployment, which will help us all, because the unemployment that we've talked to, the benefits they get, again, comes out of all of our pockets. I'd rather that money go somewhere else. If it can't go, it not needed to go in unemployment, I'd love it to go back to the schools or to health care.
I see a whole lot of poverty. But there's a lot of good things going on too. If you go in there and look at North Carolina Works, and that's been going on since, 99? I've met with them this past week over in Rocky Mount and over in Northampton County, which is not one of my counties, but that's where her office is. And they're doing a whole lot of things to coordinate between what jobs are coming in and what they are teaching in the schools, what they're teaching with the colleges. So yes, we need more training in our community colleges, more training in the high schools.
There's not enough time, there's not enough time to talk about everything these candidates would like to talk about. I encourage you to learn more about each of them, both of them. Go online, see what it is that they're doing. Go out and see them speak, www.richardscottnorthcarolina.org and www.charliepetfarris.com. No matter who you agree with, it is important that you register, it's important that you vote, it's important that you do your research between now and November to find out about who they are. Thank you for tuning in for Talking with Janet.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on Talking with Janet, please contact us by email, brothersideent@gmail.com. Leave your name and contact information. Without that, your guest will not be considered.
This has been a Brotherside Entertainment production.